Welcome back to the Martial Arts Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Rose, and today I have a very, very special guest. Hailing from Wolverhampton, he's the relentless, the fearless, the pride of the Black Country, British and Commonwealth welterweight champion. It's Conor the Wolf Walker. Hi, Conor. How are you?
I like that. That was good. I'm
Thanks.
good.
I feel
How are
like
you?
I'm good, thank you. I feel under pressure because I did a really good intro for Dave Allen, and now everyone's like waiting and expecting me to do a really good intro for them. So I feel always like I've got to do good intros for people now.
Yeah, no, I like that. That was good.
Thanks. I'm glad I landed it. How are you? How are you feeling? You're 10 days out, seven, eight, 9 days out, 8 days out.
It's a week on Saturday. That's all I
Yeah.
know.
So like 10
It's
days.
about yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm good. I'm flying. All the hard work's done now, so it's just tweaking, going over game plans, making the weight, etc. It's Jeremy ringing me now. Um,
Put him on speaker. See what he has to say. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
um,
You actually thought about it then, didn't you?
yeah, I thought about it, but then I thought, it's got to go out, and obviously he
Yeah,
could
of
be
course.
letting some tricks and trade out. So no, so yeah, it's just do you know what? Normally, I'm still eager to sort of beat my body up this week. For it being the last week of sparring, last week of like hard sort of training, but it's a bit of dropping it now. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I've got loads more to give, and I feel like I'm just chomping at the bit, to be honest. So yeah, last spar tomorrow, and then yeah, it's just like you say, just for making the weight then.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at this point, it's a really good sign to be feeling this strong and this happy and this feeling like you've got so much in the tank. I mean, can't be anything worse than feeling really depleted at 10 days out.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So I think that's the reason for the sort of just bringing it down now because it's all about feeling good. I've been up here now. I think this is my 12. So once I've had a fight, it'll be 14 weeks I've been up here. So we've been chipping away for 14 weeks. So, I'm not going to get any fitter. I'm not going to get any stronger. Um, we just need to just nail the game plan and then obviously execute it a week on Saturday. So that's where we're at.
Brilliant. I mean, I've obviously been in the lead up to this conversation, sort of revisiting some past interviews and obviously your past outing, which was something quite special. Um, and obviously, Fabio Wardley sort of tried to jump on your bandwagon a little bit this weekend. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I can't imagine that. I mean, or rather, I can imagine that going through something like that must fill you with another layer of sort of self-confidence that you can pull it out the bag and you can pull the trigger. It doesn't matter where it is, when it is, but you have the capacity. That must have made you feel pretty confident moving through and coming out the other side.
yeah, definitely. I've always known personally that I'm a 12 round fighter. That's sort of I've always that's always been registered for in my own head because of the sort of way I fight. It takes me a while to get going. It takes me a while to work my opponent out. But once I do work my opponent out, it's just once I get into my flow and my rhythm, it's I'm a horrible man to be in the ring with. And when I've got 12 rounds with people, my sort of omnipresent and the little things I do in the fights that the average boxing fan doesn't see. The little things that sort of make them feel like they haven't got a rest, they can't go anywhere without taking a shot. It takes its toll on them, and you know being up here and being with the likes of Jamie and Nige, I just think that I'm just getting better and a more complete fighter. And over the 12 rounds now, you're gonna see. Like I say, I'm just more suited to the 12 round fights, and hopefully, I never have to do anything less because I like the idea of having 12 rounds with someone because it's like I've got my time to settle into the fight, I've got my time to work them out, and then sort of get into my flow and my rhythmic state.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just like go back in time a little bit and what I find interesting is people's stories as to why boxing, how they got into boxing, and what made them stick with boxing. Because I got into boxing when I was 18, and it was a complete fluke, but it's absolutely changed my life, and it's saved my life, and it's been the thing that I can't talk more passionately and more highly about, which is why I became a coach and why I've got into this world. So I love hearing why other people did it, and because it's like the craziest thing in the world. Like, why would you want to walk into a room and get punched in the face? Like, it's just the maddest thing. So let's go way back to the beginning. Like, take me through your story.
Yeah, so boxing has always been a little bit, a part of what me and my brother had done a little bit when we was young. We used to live on the same road as a boxing gym. So we sort of flickered in between there, and misbehaving sort of on the streets and whatever else. Um, Never took it serious. I've always played rugby. We've been a sort of a rugby family, so we've always played rugby. And I played at a decent level. And then, yeah, so school, I messed around a lot in school, got kicked out of every school I went to, in all honesty. Left school, and I found myself getting to more bother than I'd sort of like to be getting into. And then it ended up me going to a juvenile youth detention centre for a couple of years. So from 16 to just before my 18th birthday, I was in there. I'd done 22 months inside, and then I come out, and it was sort of, I had plans to do this, do that, and all that. But I went back to rugby. I went back to the sort of what I know, just carried on playing for a little bit. Our team, we went off and we done a boxing sort of fitness program, and I just felt it was right to. I think that the fighting side of the rugby is what I actually enjoyed more than the actual game. And I was constantly fighting on the pitch, and I just put two and two together. I thought, why not I just get why not I just do it as a sport and enjoy it? So yeah, so then I sort of start. I went back. I went to a gym local to where I was living at the time, and the coach there was my coach back in the day when I was flicking in between down at another gym. So like it was instant sort of I instantly felt at home. We built up a sort of a bit of a team as you like, and we had a real good set of lads, and my amateur experience was amazing. We had such good lads. We had a buzz in the gym, and it was a newly formed gym. It wasn't like an ongoing gym. It was newly formed, so we was all fresh. It was all new. We all started at the same time, and we all just started sort of winning and enjoying the wins. And we was doing crazy training. We was training like pros. And yeah, like just like you, it did save me because of obviously I wanted to keep on the straight and narrow, and I wanted to better myself and be a better person. But I've always had that extra bit of energy and that extra bit of, I was just a young lad full of, full of spunk. You know what I mean? And I needed something to keep my mind occupied, and something, because I've always been a driven man. I've always known I'm going to be successful. Boxing was that. So I started boxing. Um, as a bit of fun, as a bit of a release, and then I just started winning, and I got to about 16 an hour, 17 an hour, I think, which isn't bad. I won the novice under 10s, and then my first defeat come to Harry Scarf, believe it or not. So that's why that fight was personal. Um, and yeah, like I say, just pushed on, and obviously I carried on. I had 33 amateurs. I've only lost three out of them, which is not a bad record, really. And then had the opportunity to go to Ricky Hatton, and yeah, now I've just sort of progressed on.
Do you feel that boxing gave you, because obviously you had energy and you're obviously quite an intelligent man. I've read some of the stuff, just even that you've written on your Instagram and the way you speak, you're very articulate. And I think that sometimes, especially in young men, if they feel purposeless and they don't know where they're going, but they're bright, they can find that very difficult to channel. So do you think that boxing gave you a purpose?
Yeah, but do you know what? It's the first time I've been called bright. I'm not the most intelligent, kid on the block. I'll be honest with you, but I sort of, in the same sense as a fighting, I always find a way for everything. If I want something, or if I go and see a piece of clothing in a shop or something, I'll leave. If I can't afford it, then I'll make sure that I get that piece of clothing, a week later, and things like that. Like I can't physically let it go in my brain. So it's like, if I sort of. I'll give you an example. I said to myself that I want to own my own property. When I left Ricky Ann and I come back to Wolverhampton, and I sort of said to myself, within a year, I want to buy my own house. And it's like I had to do that within the year, and it was just, and that's just how I live my life. I just set my goals every year. I do sort of a few goals on my New Year's resolution, and I just stick to them, and I smash it, and I set short term and long term goals. So I think to the answer to your question is, I'm not the brightest tool not the brightest light on the Christmas tree, but I just find a way, and it doesn't matter what's in front of me. I'll challenge it until I get to where I need to get to.
I think people misconstrue intelligence as being book smart, but actually, I don't think intelligence is based on book smart. I think you can have different, like, because you could have somebody who's deeply intelligent, but they can barely leave their house because they've ruminated so much about the life and the universe that they just obsess, and that doesn't actually create a life experience. Whereas I believe there's emotional intelligence and physical intelligence and determination and life experiences that you can't actually teach. So your determination sounds to me like it was something that was born into you but needed the right nurturing and the right path. And that's normally my question I ask is like, do you believe that the fight mindset, the fight ability, because obviously being a fighter is a very hard game, and you have to have immense amounts of bravery to want to do it because it is a hurt sport. And I always ask, do you think it's nature or nurture? I mean, I've kind of observed you, and it feels like it's a mixture of both. But what would you say?
Um, See, fighting, it's never once sort of. I've never been worried to have a fight. I've never been scared to, just go and have a dust up, if you know what I mean. So the fighting side of it is the easy part for me. And the sort of mental side that a lot of people will struggle with it comes easy to me because all I see is another man standing in front of me, and he bleeds red blood, and he's thinking the same, and he's feeling the same as me. So, what I tend to do for sort of comfort with boxing is I just sort of I'll have my camp, and I'll stick to my regime rigorously, and I won't miss a session. I won't take a day off my diet. So then when it comes to for sort of fight night, fight week, I've done everything in my power, and I live by that. If you know what I mean, I live by that code. Um, I don't cheat myself, I'm definitely like a strong willed bloke as it is, but like we've all got wounds and all got issues and whatever else, but like I just think boxing is probably one of the easiest things for me to do as a career, and I can't believe I can call it a career because I enjoy it. I love training. I love pushing my body and you know to the limits, and to go and do what I love and get paid for it. It doesn't seem like work to me.
I think that's amazing. And I think it's also a great lesson for anyone listening. Because one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I love the mentality things around human beings in general, but particularly in fighters, because it takes so much more to do what you do. Like I only managed to have one fight because I've got a heart condition. So I had this like crazy journey of like finding out I was really good at this thing and then being told I couldn't do it. And it was just, and I learned so much from that one experience of how I could manage my own mind and how it's not something that's out of our control. It's steps that we take and disciplines that we implement. So hearing that actually what your process is literally just following the plan. So it's like I show up, I do the thing. So when I step in the ring, I have no question mark above my head about, what I can do. And I think that that is a really good sort of soundbite to teach people that it's not about just thinking you're the best in the whole world. It's just showing up and committing to that thing. And I feel like that's something that should be taught in schools. I think boxing should be taught in schools. I've said this to a few people now. What do you think about that?
Definitely, like I do a few talks in schools and things like that, just because of the sort of what my past and sort of where what I- what I have been. I've not been any different to who I am now, but the young lad I was, it's definitely not the guy I am today. But you know, everyone's entitled to making mistakes because as kids and things, you can't always make the right decision. But I just think, like you say, if you're passionate about something and you're good at it, I think you're cheating yourself if you don't put everything into it. Do you know what I mean? And I just think I think everything's achievable as long as you do the hours and you turn up like you say. And I just think I always think that if he can do it, I can do it, and I just think that about everything.
I think that that's something that we don't have enough of in our society is the idea that anything's possible. I think that people want to tell you that it isn't too much, and that's something that just by being around fighters all the time, it's expanded my own mindset because I'm like, your last fight, for example, is like I guarantee people could have told you take John in the back row of this the arena come in and tell you what he thinks is you're about to achieve, and he's going to tell you you're going to lose that fight. And you know, it's like those people can't see that miracles can happen, magic can happen, skill can happen, moments can happen, and everything can change like that. Um, what do you think your biggest overcoming has been? So like hardest moment to biggest overcoming that makes you look back and think, I'm really glad that happened.
In boxing,
Boxing life either, because they both match up together, really, don't they?
no, obviously boxing. I'll definitely go on on the boxing. Is with my career, I've always I've took every fight that's been presented to me. First proper test was Samuel Antwi, and I come short on that. They give it to him, but a lot of people thought I won. It was touch and go. Just took it on the chin, carried on, and then a couple of fights later, I tried to drop down the weight. Took too much out of myself. I was going into the ring a shell of myself basically. Didn't come through it. I was thinking like I've never once even thought of retiring, but it was sort of like, okay, what do I do now? Like if I'm not going that way, and I'm in the crossroads, and you listen to the people in your ears, and it's anyway. But then my next fight that was presented to me was a Cyrus Patterson fight, and so from the small halls, taking a couple of losses to then getting the call to fight a matchroom for a co-main event for a WBA international title against he was at the time he was very avoided, southpaw that they're all raving on about. He's getting moved fast, and I'm coming off the back of a loss. Really, a lot of people will go, "Oh, I'm going to get a win, and then I'm going to have a look at whatever." And I just said, "No, I want that fight." I had one look at him and I says, he's made for me. And I went out there and I put on a devastating performance. I dropped him 3 times and retired him on his stool at the weight above. But like just on that sort of on the crossroads there, we decided to go back to the original weight, which obviously paid dividends. And how I felt coming out of the ring, like coming out to the fight, I started to enjoy the sport again. Whereas obviously cutting the weight and losing all the weight, you just hate the game because it's physically. I shouldn't have done it, but I learned a lot from it. And then on the back of that, my boxing career has just gone from strength to strength. And from the Cyrus Patterson fight, that was 6 fights ago now, and I think I've co-mained 4 or 5 matchroom big shows. I've been nominated Fighter of the Year with Crocker. I've won the British Commonwealth title, and now I'm sort of defending it. And so like that was the biggest thing in boxing for me, because of sort of taking a loss and then proving everyone wrong. To say no, this was a real me, and this is what I should have been like if I would have stayed at the weight.
That's really awesome, especially because I think so many people reach the that moment where they're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, and they quit and they give up on themselves and they don't see what could come next. And obviously, the thing that came next has kind of changed your trajectory by the sound of things in a way that at that moment you probably, although in your soul you knew you were capable of, there was part of you that was just like, maybe this is just not for me. Maybe this is just not the way to go.
Yeah, but that's it. You question yourself, don't you? The mind. This is the thing about the mind. It's an amazing muscle, which can, if you don't have full control over it, it can really mess you up. And I think that boxing, there's a world of thought processes, and but once you can nail that, I think boxing is 95% mental. Like, and I believe that over the years, I've managed to sort of, I've always, like I said, I've always been strong-willed, but I just think that now I'm really in tune with who I am and what I'm about, and I just think I could be a very dangerous man now, with sort of where I'm at.
I think that's a really important growth step as well to really understand yourself. I think so many people don't, but when you can, that's when you are more unstoppable because you know you're good and you're bad. I think people avoid looking at their bad. They don't want to look in the mirror. They don't want to face. They want to kind of go into a denial state. You said earlier that like for you, boxing is kind of easy in terms of like you don't know you don't really get afraid of the process of the actual fighting. What is it that so moving gyms? What is it you are feeling like apart from obvious like training and skill set, but what do you think it is particularly that Jamie and Nige are bringing to you in this new chapter that's helping you elevate?
So Jamie, he's big on the sort of the mindset as well. The sort of the secret, the manifestation, and the sort of the flow state and stuff like that I touched on earlier. It's he's he's well into that as well, and I just believe that. See, whatever you say, and you know whatever you say is energy coming out of your mouth. You're gonna produce whatever comes out of your mouth. And if I say, that's why, like I say in the gym and stuff, and you'll never hear me say I'm tired or I'm, I don't feel too good today. You'll always hear me saying I'm feeling amazing today, because then that replicates. So yeah, Jamie's well in tune with the same sort of thought process on me on that. So that's a massive thing for me. And the experience is just, it's the wealth of experience. He's been levels above me where I'm at now. He won the British outright twice, and he won the European titles and very similar styles to me, very similar style to me, or I'm a similar style to him because I've tried to emulate him over the years. And Nige and Jamie are both sing off the same hymn sheet. They've been best friends ever since I can remember. So, there's no sort of contradiction there. They're both singing off the same hymn sheet. They both got different training methods, but they work alongside each other. They're good. So it's yeah, and the last thing is they've been around the lads. All world class fighters, real good, solid human beings. They're like but you learn a lot from your training partners. You learn sometimes you can learn just as much, if not more, from your training partners than your actual trainers, because they're sharing the ring with you. They're seeing your weaknesses, they're seeing your positive. So you can, if I've sparred with Jack Catchall, if I'm sparring with one of the Hamid brothers, or all the lads, I could tell him what he's doing good at and what he needs a little bit of improvement on, and vice versa. So yeah, there's loads. I could carry on. I could be here all day. I just think that there's only so much that they can teach me at this stage of my career, because of I've been boxing for so long. But it's just tweaking and just the little things.
I guess it comes back to that nature nurture argument that nurture doesn't always have to come from like the nurture in the home. It can be nurturing at different levels. So if you've already got the dog in you, you've already got the fight in you, you've not got the fear of the fight in you, but then you just keep evolving into these environments that develop each layer that you grow, it means that fighter and you can continue to be nurtured and you can continue to expand. And I think people don't realize that we're supposed to evolve past or move past certain parts in our life, like checkpoints. And I think they can get a bit
Yeah,
stuck in environments, relationships, jobs, because they're holding on to like the sunk cost fallacy, like I've been here for so many years, therefore I should stay, rather than, yeah, but it might be best for me to keep growing, to go somewhere else.
that was the hardest part for me, leaving the gym I was at. He's still my best friend now. My old coach, Rich, again. We've done, me and that bloke are like brothers. You know what I mean? And it probably was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life. But like you say, in life, in business, in sport, in anything that you do, that was the right thing for me to do at the time. And I wouldn't have left. I never would have left Rich until we got that British title. The British title was our goal, and we've done it together. But it's not just boxing. It was more than boxing for me and him. We were best friends out. We've been on holiday together, numerous times. We'd go out together as families. It was so, like I say, it was hard, but in respectively, it was the best decision I've ever made because where I'm at now, mentally, physically, in this gym and with the lads I'm training with, I honestly don't think that could be any better.
And that's really exciting, especially, we're on the, 10 days out from the next part of your journey, which is like really exciting. How are you sort of seeing? I mean, obviously everyone's already asked you this question, and I actually find this question really silly because it feels like it's just clickbaity, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How do you see it sort of playing out for you?
Do you know what? Without giving too much away, I just think that I'm the younger, fresher, more active fighter. My trajectory's going like that. I'm flying on all cylinders, and I believe that Liam Taylor 8 years ago, should I say, on his top form, could stand a chance in maybe securing a 12 round draw. At a push, a push. This point in his career, there's just no way on this earth that he can match me for on every department. Do you know understand what I'm saying? His career's plateaued. He goes high, he goes low, and I just think that with his years of inactivity, not fighting the fighters that I've fought and back to back. Do you know what happens with me is I fight, I come back to the pad and I learn from my wrongs. If you have a fight a year, he's had a fight a year for the last 5 years. Um, against I don't want to disrespect any fighter, but against fighters, um, and I don't know how to put this. They're sort of Midlands area level fighters. Do you know what I mean? And that's not going to be good enough to beat me. So yeah, like I will. This is one thing I will say is I just see me winning, and I see me winning, um, by stoppage.
Well, it'll be really exciting. I'd love to see that. Unfortunately, I can't actually make the fight night, but I'm going to come up for the all the press stuff next week. So at least I'll get to see that, and then I'll watch it on my phone because I'm away. But I think it's going to be a very exciting evening. If we're going to look at sort of down the line, what do you want for yourself? Whether that's career, whether that's life, whether that's financial, whether that's multiple properties and retiring in Dubai. Like, what's the vibe for you? What do you want from the next few years?
Yeah, so me and my partner, we sort of we've done a thing that not so long back now where we written down everything that we'd want in life, to live comfortable, and it's sort of like a little bit of a dream board, and to say like when we reach this, then I can then we'll look at taking a step back, and just and doing selective ventures, but really sort of enjoying and catching up on all the stuff I've missed out on. So realistically, I want probably about 10 properties paying me on a certain, like I need a certain, we want to get a certain number of sort of cash coming in per month to live the life that we want to live. But like I'd always say I'm never going to go past 35 years old in boxing. So at the absolute max, I'll be fighting till I'm 35, which is 5 years. Um, and yeah, I just want to retire retired. I'm well on my way now to secure the life that I want. And off the back of the sort of paydays I've had, the future paydays, it's definitely within reach. I've just got to sort of keep my head down, arse up, and keep working. And yeah, like I say, I'm not far off where I want to be. But you know, that's this year's goals. Next year's goals will be something else. Next year's got the year after that will be something else. So, I've ticked off one of the things this year, which is a British title. So, a couple more houses and a couple of other things that I've got written down, and then that one when I'm away. But yeah, I see myself. I want to be world champion. I want to be the first world champion for Wolverhampton. I think I would be. I've done a bit of research, and I don't think there has been a world champion from Wolverhampton. I was a second to win the British, but I want to be the first to win a world title. Um, and yeah, just go on to catch up on all the stuff I missed out on.
That's the tough thing about being an athlete, isn't it? Like a professional athlete, especially in boxing, because like you've already said, you travel and stay away in like Airbnbs for your training camp, well, for training in general and training camps, and it's all for the future and for your family's future because you only have a window that's like this big. Because after a certain point, it can't be continued. And those sacrifices, like, how do you navigate through those moments where it feels like, I mean, obviously, you're obviously very good at navigating your mind. You know what you're doing this for. But in those moments that are tough, like, how do you navigate through?
I think you just gotta get through them. I always try and put a positive spin on it and everything. That if I'm having a bit of a shit day, I always think of the positives out of of that day, and I always think that like so you have one day, you always have one bad day a month if it is in a month or if it 1 month by the next, but like I always know that tomorrow it's not going to be the same, like so you just got to get through that day, and it always is. You sleep on it, you wake up, you're a different person. Um, so yeah, I just think that bad days don't last. Do you know what I mean? I'm comfortable. I've got enough money coming in. I can buy sort of without sounding big headed. Me and my family can live comfortable. This is what I always think. I always think, look outside. Me and my partner both got two cars on the drive, a roof over our head. We've even got the luxuries. We've got camp. Like these little things I try and put into perspective, and I think there's a lot of people out there that can't even feed their family. So, I've got more than enough to be a happy man.
Do you think because of the experiences that you had when you were younger, do you think that's helped you stay even more sort of like grateful and thankful for what you have rather than constantly grabbing for more?
100%. I think that obviously myself, I've never had nothing growing up. I mean, I've had nothing that I didn't need. If my family was always on the brink. We was never um we could never sort of just go out and buy something if we wanted it. It was it was hard sometimes, and we got through it as a family. Me, my mum, my brother, obviously my dad and my mum split up when we was a bit younger, but obviously I'm still so close to my dad. But some of the things that that we've had to do as a family to get by, stick with you. And I believe that, you know, I'm the one out of my generation, in the family that he's gonna be the successful one, and I've just got to keep doing what I'm doing, and obviously, like you say, the life I've lived it makes me grateful.
And I think something I've learned in my experiences is that when life can kick you down, it can be very easy to go down with it. And it can be very easy to swim around that drain pipe. Like it can be very easy to stay ruminating and going round and round and round in circles and actually being thankful for what you have, even if it's a really little amount, to be able to wake up and say thank you because I have this. Whatever a little amount means, it could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be financial, it could be anything, but it being like, oh wow, it's really cool that I have this because some people don't even have this, and that can shift the mentality so much, and then that develops into more, and you realize you've created this amazing life that's amazing and feels amazing, but you're also like, but I'm also okay here, even with the goals that I have all the way out there, and I want to be there. I'm also really happy here, and that makes the journey a lot more of a peaceful process.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Obviously, this year was, my plan was to get my missus off work, and that plan's just in front of us now. And to have her off work and me doing something that I love, like that's a massive, massive thing for me. And I just think like, how many other people can actually say that, she's not retired because she's gonna be we could both obviously we've got the business, we've got the house, whatever else, but to say that she can pull away from work, do something that she loves at 30 is a massive achievement. So like you say, you've just got to appreciate it's been hard. It's been hard, but we've grafted and we've done everything in our power to obviously make a better life for ourselves. So like you say, you just you've just got to appreciate what's in front of you.
I think that's the biggest takeaway I'm taking from you really is like you've not you've managed to keep a really really good head, a really really positive mindset. You've really worked on that and focus and it hasn't come easy is my point is like I think people think that life's supposed to be easy and I've been guilty of that in the past where I'm like I don't understand why it's so hard. I don't understand why it's challenging me so much. And actually when you can realize that life's actually really really hard, especially if you go after something you want. If you really want something, it's going to be harder than if you go and sit in a recruitment agency down the road and you're working your 9 to 5 and you get, you live for the weekend. Like it's going to be harder. However, the end goal and the end results will be worth that hustle. And I think actually there's some people, like a lot of people need to hear that it's going to be hard. It's supposed to be hard, but that doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what I think? Yeah, I think like the easy life is harder than actually just sitting, like like you say, grafting your ass off, like I've done for the last obviously how many years. For me, it'd be harder for me to go and live, live a normal life and work a 9 to 5, um, and not do what I love, and that would be really difficult for me to work 9 to 5, to then still only just about to afford my mortgage and probably get one holiday a year. That to me is, it's my worst nightmare. So me, but what I've done and what I've grafted and what I've sacrificed to live a better life after I retire is a no brainer. My biggest fear is regret. You know what I mean? And getting to the end of my career and going, I wish I would have just stuck at it and done that extra little bit of a push on it. Do you know what I mean? So I just think, and I know that's how my mind works. So I've got to do everything in my power now to secure what I need to secure, not to have that feeling.
Yeah, I fully relate when you said about the regret. I tried not to shout because I was like, yes, like I can't stand the feeling of regret or feeling like I've slept on myself or I didn't try hard enough. And I've actually, I've lived through that experience where I nearly gave up on myself. Like life just got, there was a lot of stuff that happened and I always had a fire in me that was like, I'm not going to give up on this. And then I lost everything. And when you lose everything, you've got nothing to lose. So I was like, right, I'm never going to do anything ever again that doesn't make me happy, ever again. And I started from scratch, and that's when boxing really took over for me. And when I started to become a coach, and I was earning like £20 a week coaching boxing. But from that was only 2.5 years ago. And then where I am today, and I've managed to completely transform my life. And that was just because I absolutely flat out refused to do anything other than what was going to make me happy. And I would rather suffer for that. And now I feel happier than I've ever been. And that didn't actually take me that long because I've been happy for a while. And I think people are fearful that if they take they're going to be miserable for ages or it's going to take so much longer. Yeah, it takes time. But like you said, so does wasting away your life just kind of sitting in an office. I've tried sitting in an office and I think I lasted 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah,
It
that's
didn't
it.
go very well.
Yeah, that like I just couldn't. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a grafter at heart. I'm a tiler by trade. I've worked the hours. I've got up in the morning, went for my run, then I'd go to work all day, then I train on the night. I've done those things, and tiling itself, I just couldn't. I was doing well. I had my own little business. I was clearing a few quid, but then I decided, like I say, to not earn nothing, spend my life savings, traveling up to Manchester, turning pro, and focus on my dream. And like you say, it pays off as long as you can stay tunnel vision, which I find a lot of people find it hard too, because, like you say, the smoke and mirrors, and it's hard. It's hard because people want things today, tomorrow. They want it there and then. But I was always aware that with boxing, nothing comes overnight, and no one in boxing is naturally talented. Everything comes from work and consistency and drills and drills and like that's just how boxing is. But that's how life is.
Yeah, I definitely found that when I started boxing, I had a natural affinity to it because I was like a dancer and stuff. So like pad work and stuff made sense to me. But I remember, getting a bit gassed because like the coaches were like, "She's great. We're going to train her up to fight." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so good." And then the more you do, the more you realize how shit you are. And the work, like I've been doing it for years, and I'm the best I've ever been, the fittest I've ever been, and I'm still like, I don't know shit. I don't know
Well,
anything, and
yeah,
it
that's it.
humbles you.
best in the world, still learning. You know that's what I love about boxing. You're consistently learning, and there's always new little tricks of the trade coming in. It's like the Lomachenko brought the sort of pull down the glove, the angles, you've got there's loads of different. It's like the Nas era. Like there's always something new and something fresh, and it's like now Moses Atama, a heavyweight who's doing things like middleweight. Like there's always something new and something in boxing. There's like you say, you're never the best.
No, and I think people should do it more to realize that the joy of the journey in boxing is that school's never out, and that should actually be the journey of life as well. That people should maybe soften their idea and their expectation and realize that it's always just going to be something that you're going to be learning from. And that's why I think I love
Yeah,
the analogies of the two, and why I think that these conversations could help, like, not just boxing fans to enjoy getting to know the fighter more, but to actually realize that you're all just human beings who took brave steps.
exactly. That's the bottom line, isn't it? And if you don't take the step, you'll never know. That's why I always say I'd never turn down a fight because it could be the easiest fight of your career because you could be his worst nightmare. And he could be made for you. So like, you know, take the opportunity, give it a go. If you don't win, give a good account of yourself. You'll be back and you just learn from it. It's all learns. It's like a seven-a-side football team or a Sunday league football team. If you go and lose on the weekend, what are you gonna do? Oh, I've fucked this shit. I'm out. I've lost. This is what I don't get about boxers and boxing. They'll have it's all about this. Oh, just take the lot. I mean, it's not. Don't go out and take a loss. By all means, try and win. But if you do lose, just analyze where you went wrong and see the gaps and work on it.
100, and just, yeah, lean into it. A loss is not a loss, it's a learning, and you learn more from the losses anyway. Like, that's life as well. We learn more in pain than we do in pleasure, unfortunately. um but look, Connor, you've got 10 days out. You're probably mediaed up to your eyeballs. There we go, the words came out. But I really, really appreciate your time. I could talk to you for ages. And thank you, because it's time is the only currency we don't get back. So I really appreciate you sharing yours with me today. And I will see you next week in Birmingham, for media things. Um,
Yeah, man.
and enjoy the rest of camp. Enjoy your last spa, and good luck next week. And we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Catch up soon. Yeah.
Take care.